It's the magic of makeup and a celebration of the Bard, and it's all coming up on this month's Houston Theater Beat. Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of Houston Theater Beat. I'm your host, John Lazo. We have two extraordinarily special topics on this month's show. First, in this month's Backstage segment, we get to watch as Houston actor Michael Raabe transforms himself through the magic of character makeup into the monster in SRO's recent production of Young Frankenstein the musical. This revealing montage demonstrates the importance of makeup to the stage and the complex process that stage actors go through to get that all-important right look. Then, both In Performance and Harley's Hot Ticket celebrate the Bard with a look at two great Shakespeare productions coming up here in Houston. First, we visit with the folks at Trebuchet Players for their very exciting steampunk version of Hamlet. Then we're off to the Heights for a look at Upstage's Taming of the Shrew, which is set in 1950s New York. So let's get started.
Hi everybody, I'm Michael Raabe. I am in Standing Room Only's production of Young Frankenstein, the musical. I am playing the creature. You're going to be taking a look at my makeup this evening as I transform myself from this hideous beast into yet another hideous beast. So, the first application process is spirit gum with reference to my good friend Patrick Slagle, who took me aside a few years ago and told me I didn't know what the hell I was doing with spirit gum. It was nice enough to explain that more isn't always better. Know your prosthetic, you can tell where the spirit gum needs to be to evenly adhere. Make sure you go a little bit beyond where your edges need to be. Start in the center and work out, pressing evenly. Making sure you get all the wrinkles out. Do not rush this process. Anywhere that there's a bubble, you will sweat. You do not want to sweat under your prosthetic. Once the piece is in place, I'm going to seal the edges with liquid latex. And this blends it in and makes it more a piece of me. Using the good stuff, there are different brands. Again, depends on what your budget allows. There are a few things you do not want to be cheap on. This literally becomes seal up any gaps that you had. Gluing it on.
If you do it right.
If you do it right. Correct. Oh,
Everybody always go see Michael Raabe and all the shows he's in because he's wonderful.
I paid him to say that. Color process is going to begin. I'm going to start with some of my edges. I'm going to work out. Dab in the color. Do not try to paint or rub. So bad I'm so shy.
This is really tough for you.
I know, right? I would drop $100 for that role. Okay, maybe 50.
I would gain 100 pounds and throw a penis for it.
Ooh, look at you.
That's how much I love theater, Michael.
That's how. You heard it here first, folks.
No.
I'm going to take our trusty, dusty word of warning. Here comes the powder. Be generous. No matter if it looks like it's too much, it's probably not enough. This is what keeps the powder or the makeup on you and off of your co-actors, performers. In theory. This is the part of the process where you find out where you really did miss. And this is the point in the process where you beg for help from the lovely and talented assistant who is just off of camera.
On my way.
Kaylee,
Yes.
say hi to the audience.
Hello, audience.
The audience says hello. I'm going to put a lighter colored wash just over the face to highlight. To the darkest colors allowed.
Exactly what I need to have it.
The more definition you want, the more careful.
This is a dress festival, though. I like it. We're going to do something that is not your pirate.
My Jurassic Park
Silly.
pirate costume. I'm a really big fan of the pirate.
Yeah.
Oh, here. We'll try to make this happen.
Do a little bit of coloring
I
on
dig
the back of my
best too, actually.
hands.
Let's try it with a skirt and short.
Where is this all from? Is this from stuff?
Mostly from my closet. But I never throw anything out.
Depending on how
It's like actually a lot of
close you've
spin
been
costumes
doing
and
it,
things.
you might have to do your
Yeah.
My
palms.
closet and I forget shit.
I am
It's
not.
a see-through, but let's just for now just try it on.
It's a musical comedy,
Oh, cool.
not
This
a
is a
movie.
little pirate shirt, but it's also a little piece of shit.
So they have to pretend they don't know that I'm solo.
I got
Ladies and
something
gentlemen,
for
is
ya.
a pretty basic character makeup.
Hi, everybody. I'm being joined by some of the crew members and cast members of the Trebuchet Players' upcoming production of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. And I'm very happy to welcome as my guest today Terrell Wolbert, who is one of the co-founders of Trebuchet Players, Kathy Drum, who is directing the show, And Erin Echegaray, who is playing Hamlet, and Erin's right there on the end. And ladies, and Erin, thank you very much for joining me today on Houston Theater Beat.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you to talk about the greatest play in history, I guess we would say. And Trebuchet has decided to tackle it, and everybody's very excited about it, to hear what's going on. Terrell, you're one of the co-founders of Trebuchet, one of the really up-and-coming groups, new groups on the theater scene here in Houston. Can you tell the Houston Theater Beat audience a little bit about Trebuchet's history, where the idea for the company came from? What led you to create a new company?
It was something I had been kind of pondering for a long time. I was part of a really prolific company in Austin for a couple of years before I moved to Houston. And I got down here and was really amazed and overwhelmed by the theater scene. And I just had this itch to make something of my own. And one night, some friends and I were talking, being convivial, and we decided just to go ahead and do it. It was something that we had all kind of been thinking about for quite a while, and so we decided to just start making it happen. And that was about a year before our first production opened. We started the planning process for Troilus and Cressida in the summer of 2011, and the next summer we were able to put it on.
Kathy, I was very intrigued because you all have decided on kind of a very unusual approach to Hamlet. I don't know anything about steampunk. I'm far too old. So what I did was I went to steampunk.com, and one of the definitions I found was it's sort of Victorian industrial with more whimsy and fewer orphans, was the actual quote that I found. I know it sort of involves the feel that the Houston Theater Beat audience that maybe saw the film Wild Wild West is familiar at least with the mechanism, but how does that scenario, well, first of all, why did you choose it? And secondly, how is that impacting the story of Hamlet? Why is it going to be so cool?
So what I decided is that it needed an element of timelessness, that it needed to be kind of Victorian, but not Victorian, that it needed to be somehow not a real thing, but something that's somehow taken out of time. And when I started to look at steampunk, and there is a whole steampunk circus milieu, when I started to look at that, I started to really fall in love with the eeriness of it, and the sense of something rotten underneath the facade. And so that, we just kind of went from there, because I thought it suited the story so well.
That's great, to have a resetting that actually fits that well with the story.
We hope so.
That's
yeah.
wonderful, that's wonderful. Erin, another actor that a couple of people have heard of who has also had the opportunity to play Hamlet maybe a couple of times. His name is Laurence Olivier.
Yes. I may have heard of him.
You may have heard of him just in passing. Maybe you guys had worked together at some point. Said, acting is illusion, not so much a matter of being real. So I wanted to ask you, because the Houston Theater Beat audience is fascinated by subjects like this, how are you approaching Hamlet? Who is your Hamlet? And what impact, probably just as important, what impact is he having on you?
That is not something that's terribly easy to nail down. There's a tremendous responsibility on the performer to make decisions, which direction your Hamlet is going in, how he really, what his relationship really is like with his mother, what it was like with his father, and how he viewed his uncle before. That's just the tiniest example I can come up with off the top of my head, but so much relies on the input from your director, on your fellow performers and their experiences with it, and what it means to them. That's one of the strengths of working with Trebuchet right now. It's such a collaborative environment that you always feel well supported, no matter what your choices are, no matter what limb you're stepping out on. So I've felt unusually comfortable. And I've heard it said recently that every performer that undertakes the role will give a little bit of himself to it as well. So you'll see some of the actor coming through, and it's just a matter of how much of that actor is actually on display in the guise of Hamlet. So I'm discovering that right now.
Okay. That was going to be what I was going to ask you, is how much of you is there, but that's a perfectly good answer, that you're still finding that beaker is still being filled. So
Yes, and the needle is crossing back and forth over that line every
I'm
other
sure
day.
it must be. I'm sure it must be. Fascinating stuff. Well, thanks, you guys. Everybody stay tuned, because what we're getting ready to see right now is one of, I won't spoil it for you, but is one of the most famous scenes from Hamlet, enacted by the cast of Trebuchet, and that's coming up right now.
He is dead and gone, lady. He is dead and gone. At his head a grass green turf. At his head a stone.
Nay, better feel it.
Like his and my Saint Charity, alack and hide for shame. Young men will do it if they come to it, but they are to blame. Quoth she before she tumbled me, you promised me to wed. He answers, so would I have done by yonder sun, had you not come to my bed.
How long hath she been thus?
I pray all will be well. We must be patient, but I cannot help but weep to think that they would lay him in the cold ground. My brother shall hear of it. And so I thank you for your good counsel. Come, my coach! Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Sweet ladies. Good night. Good night.
Go follow her. Give her good watch, I pray you. Oh, this is the poison of deep grief. It springs from her father's death, and now behold, oh, Gertrude. Gertrude, when sorrows come, they come not in single spies, but in battalions. Her brother has already come from France in secret, and wants not for buzzards to give him, filling his ears with pestilent words of grief. Oh, Gertrude, this, like a murdering death, gives me superfluous death.
Sir, stand you all without. Let me leave. I thank you. Guard the door.
Oh, thou vile king, give me my father. Come with it.
Tell me,
That
good
drop
Laertes.
of blood that's calm proclaims me bastard.
Tell me, good Laertes, why art thou thus incensed? Leave him alone, Gertrude. Speak, man.
Where is my father?
Dead.
But not by him.
Let him demand his fill.
How came he to be dead? I'll not be juggled with. Only I'll be, like come what come, only I'll be revenged most thoroughly for my father.
Good Laertes, I am guiltless of your father's death, and am most sensibly in shame for it. It shall to your judgment appear as soon as day does your eye.
Terrell, Kathy, Aaron, thank you so much for that wonderful scene from Hamlet. What beautiful stuff. I'm so glad that there's so much Shakespeare going on right now here in Houston. It is, the Bard is alive and well, so to speak, and hopefully he will stay that way for a long time here in Houston. Terrell, everybody in the Houston Theater Beat audience is going to want to come and see the show. Can you give us some information about the dates of the show and how they should go about getting tickets?
Absolutely. We run at Obsidian Art Space November 29th and 30th. That's Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m. The second weekend is December 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's Friday and Saturday at 8 and a Sunday matinee at 3. And then we have a Thursday show on the 12th and then Friday the 13th, and we close Saturday the 14th, and all those shows are at 8 p.m. as well. You can get tickets by emailing me. My address is Trebuchetplayers.org, and Terrell is Tyrrell. And my phone number is 318-423-0281. So you can reserve tickets that way. And we hope to see you all there.
We absolutely do. Well, I'd like to very much thank my guests for this segment. Terrell Wilbur, who is the co-founder of Trebuchet Players, who's had the courage to make the decision to tackle Hamlet. I have Miss Kathy Drum, who has the courage to take on the directing task of directing the production of Hamlet. And probably the most courageous of all, Mr. Aaron, say your last name for me again, Aaron. Echegaray, because I finally got it. I thought I finally got it right. Aaron Echegaray, who has decided to tackle the role of Hamlet. And make sure you come and join these folks, and make sure you catch this wonderful production at Obsidian. Everybody stay tuned, because we're going to be back with more of the show in just a moment. Hi everybody, I'm here at Lambert Hall in the rehearsal space with the director and some of the cast members of Upstage's upcoming production of Taming of the Shrew. I'm not supposed to have favorites, but Upstage is one of my very favorite theaters to visit because you guys are always so much fun to hang out with. I'm being joined today by Rebecca Bernstein, who's the director of Taming of the Shrew, by, let me make sure I get Shandi's name right, Shandi Gomez, who's playing Kate, and also on the end by Christopher Keller, who's playing Petruchio. And Rebecca and actors, thank you so much for joining me on Houston Theater Beat. It's great to have you. I appreciate you taking the time. Rebecca, 2 summers ago, I did the show at Clear Creek and had a ball. I played Baptista, and I understand your Baptista is being played by Stephen Foulard, who's a great actor here in Houston. Acting the show is a lot of fun. Directing the show, though, from my understanding, can be a little bit like riding a tiger, holding it by the ears. Can you tell the Houston Theater Beat audience a little bit about the approach, the motif that you've chosen, and your experience with the show? What's it been like for you?
Well, of course, it's so daunting because it's, written as this very sexist, the man comes in and he tames the woman in the end. Yay! But obviously, in 2013, that doesn't really work. And I thought, what other era could this work in? And then it occurred to me, the 1950s, because it was right in the middle of social change. Women were just starting to hear murmurs of the feminine mystique and the second sex, and they were just starting to think, hey, maybe there's more to it for us than just the babies.
Right, absolutely. So you've set it in the 1950s in New York?
New York, yeah.
1950s New York. Shandi, she is one of the most iconic, wonderful characters in all of Shakespeare. I know that you know that. What has your approach been to Kate? Who is your Kate, I guess I would ask you?
My Kate's a very convicted, kind of born a couple generations too early, but she's fully aware of it. Right. Unapologetic about it, but deep down, like everybody else has, that deep intrinsic need to truly be understood and found and loved by someone that is her match and her equal in her own special way. It's kind of like the argument for a true soulmate, no matter how off the wall you may be.
Sure.
I also know the souls, like my grandmother, she was an artist in a time when it was good housekeeping and starched white sheets hanging in the neighborhood was the competition, but to read Vogue and want to say you want to go to college was kind of out of the way of what was considered the right path. And just taking how her soul, she was kind of like a caged bird at the time.
Sure. Chris, so what's Petruchio been like for you? He is another one of those actor's dream roles.
Sure.
And here with your handling your Kate, of course, what has the experience been like for you? Have you grown as an actor? What's it been like?
I hope so. I mean, it's my first Shakespeare, so that alone is going to be a challenge. And if you can get through that, you've grown on its own. Petruchio it's been a blast so far, and looking forward to putting it on. And he's just such a over the top, big, very cocky, overconfident character. and a little bit different than me and in real life. I'm a little more laid back, relaxed.
It sounds like it's given you a chance to really stretch your acting muscles quite a bit, which is always good for all of us who are on stage to be able to do that. Well, what we're going to see right now is a scene from Upstage's version of Taming of the Shrew, and stay tuned because that's coming up right now.
Well, you are called plain Kate, and Bonnie the Kate, and sometimes Kate the Cursed. But Kate, prettiest Kate in all Christendom. Kate of Kate Hall, my super dainty Kate. For all dainties are Kates, and therefore Kates. Take this of me, Kate of my consolation. Here in thy mildness praised in every town, thy virtues spoke of and thy beauty sounded. Myself am moved to woo thee for my wife.
Moved? In good time? Let he who moved you hither remove you hence. I knew you at first I saw you. You're movable.
Why, what's a movable?
A joined stool.
Thou hast hit it. Come, sit on me.
Asses are made to bear, and so are you.
Women are made to bear, and so are you.
No such jade as you, if me you mean.
Alas, good Kate, I will not burden thee, knowing thee to be but young and light.
Too light for such a swain as you to catch, and yet as heavy as my weight should be.
Should be. Should buzz.
Well taken. And like a buzzard.
Oh, slow-winged turtle. Shall a buzzard take thee?
Aye, for a turtle as he takes a buzzard.
Come, in faith. Wasp, you are too angry.
If I be waspish, best beware my sting.
Our remedy is then to pluck it out.
Aye, if the folk could find it where it lies.
Who knows not where a wasp does wear his sting? In his tail!
In his tongue.
Whose tongue?
Yours, if you talk of tails. And so, farewell.
What? With my tongue in your tail? Nay, good Kate, I am a gentleman.
That I'll try.
I swear, I'll cuff you if you strike again.
And so may you lose your arms. You strike me, you are no gentleman. If you're no gentleman, then no arms.
Rebecca and actors, thank you very much for that scene. Great stuff. Shakespeare going on here at Upstage in the Heights. And Rebecca, you have information about the dates and the website where the Houston Theater Beat audience can find out information about the show. Share that with the TV audience.
Yeah, the website to find out all the information about the show, the times, is www.upstagetheater.org. And the show runs from November 1st to the 10th on the weekends. And we are doing it in a new space for us, which is the Obsidian Art Space in the Heights. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
And as Rebecca mentioned, don't forget, this show is a venue change for Upstage. They are typically at Lambert Hall, but for this particular production, they are going to be at Obsidian Art Space, which of course is also in the Heights. So I'd like to thank my guests today, Rebecca Bernstein, who is the director of Taming of the Shrew, Shandy Gomez, who's playing Kate, and Mr. Christopher Keller, who's playing Petruchio. And everybody stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the show in just a moment. That's all for this month's edition of Houston Theater Beat. I'm your host, John Lazo, and until next time, I'll see you at the show.